Hi, Abby. I hope you've been able to get outside some and enjoy this nice weather before it starts snowing up here again. but I hope you've had a good week. I just wanted to check in with you and go over your last round of informational writing before we look at, we're going to do poetry next week. And so I just wanted to take a look at this and talk about this really quick. So I did leave your comments over here again. Once I'm done recording this, I'll post it right at the bottom there so that you can watch it. But let me get started. So I wanted to say awesome job on your Adobe Spark this week. I think both of your creations look really, really well done. The pictures that you chose are very appropriate and they follow along with your writing very closely. I wanted to show you, I don't know if you saw, at the very bottom, oh goodness, we're very fast, it shows where the images are from. So I thought that that was a really cool tool so that you didn't have to necessarily look through and figure that kind of stuff out on your own. So I just wanted to point that out. I noticed it when I was looking at it. It's only when it's in the preview view. So yeah. And then I wanted to say again, for both of your pieces, you have a great hook, and it looked really good, or it sounded really good, and it was helpful for the reader to draw them in originally. But when it's here, it's just so set apart that I think it is even better for the hook. So even though the words are the same, the way that the Adobe Spark, you can set it up so that it's just set apart from the rest of the text, I think it works really well for your piece in general. So when your reader's reading that, but which one of these is the most difficult, they're like, oh, I don't know, and they see there's more coming, so then they start kind of scrolling, and it brings them right into it. And so that's just one of the reasons that I think that using the Adobe Spark for this week really worked well for your informational piece. And it goes very well with your awesome hooks to kind of draw in your reader. So great job with that. I also wanted to point out that I think it's very interesting how in this section you chose to kind of write in a narrative way. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. I'll put it up here. In a way that's kind of like a narrative for this section, but I think that it worked really well. And I wanted to ask if you thought that the best way to kind of explain this experience of trying to look at different instruments and try them out, if this was the best way to do it. We have talked about this in the previous weeks, but I had a very similar experience to this. And so for me, having it in this narrative way really did help me connect to it for both of these. So I just wanted to point that out. And then also that you used a variety of sentence structures throughout the piece that worked really well. So right in here, especially when you're talking about trying the different instruments, you have nothing happens, you blow harder, silence. You're really making the most of what you're working with. And that's going to be really helpful for next week when we start the poetry unit. And that's going to go hand in hand with some of the words you used here. So like flourish and enthusiastic applause. Those types of words, consideration, are very specific and precise. And when we look at poetry next week, we're going to want to carry those types of words over because they are stronger. They give your reader a lot of information without taking up as much space on the page. And those are some things that when we look at poetry are going to be important to consider. So you've been doing a great job with that. They're very applicable for informational writing, and it's going to change, but also the concept is kind of going to be similar for poetry and using those specific word choices. So next week we do have poetry. I wanted to remind you that we're going to have fun. Sometimes people can feel overwhelmed with poetry or scared of poetry, or they just might not like it. And so it will be an interesting time. I think that we're gonna have a good time. We have some fun prompts to choose from, and then just like this, we're gonna kind of explore some interesting ways to look at poetry that go a little bit beyond what even I have thought of as poetry in the past. And so, with that, I wanted to also mention to you, so great job with your informational writing. I think that your Adobe Spark pieces are great. I am also going to add in here, and I'm going to invite you right now in a different way. I created this just Adobe Spark questionnaire. So it's just some questions about using Adobe Spark for your informational piece. Did you like it? Why or why not? How effective was Adobe Spark for your informational writing piece? Do you think that it made your writing less effective? Did it kind of take away from your writing? Did it not really change it at all? Do you feel the same about it as when it was just typed normally? Or do you think that it really did impact it by adding the pictures and kind of breaking it up in a different way? So I'm going to have you fill this out. It's just a few questions, and then why did you pick that score? You don't have to go into something very long there. It can be a sentence, it can just be a few words, whatever you want to do there. And then for the final section, I asked, have you ever considered using something like a digital tool, kind of like Adobe Spark, for writing poetry? I had not considered that before these last few weeks, but now it's something that I think is pretty interesting. So once you kind of get started on your kind of bones of what you're hoping for the poetry, we'll look at maybe some other tools like this we can use. And so I'm just going to have you fill that out. It's not very long. You don't have to type out a lot, but it's just to help me keep track of what you thought of it and how you think that it's going. And so I will send you that. But yeah, so next week is going to be our start for the poetry. I'm super excited. Hold on, I'm trying to change it. There we go. I'm very excited for reading your poems that you submit, and I will see you later. Have a good week.